Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pitchside podcast. First of all, inconveniently, we couldn't do an episode yesterday because of technical issues. Hopefully, I'll be replacing the episode that we couldn't do yesterday with something else on the channel or on Spotify or the other platforms. Which reminds me, by the way, to tell you, of course. Like, share, comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. Enable notifications to receive the updates of the podcast. Of course, follow us on social media at SidePSP on Twitter, PitchSidePod on Instagram, or listen to us wherever you hear podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or other platforms. Let's get straight off, of course, because we couldn't do the episode yesterday, so it has to be a double work. Today, we're going to be reviewing all of the Champions League on Tuesday and Wednesday, what happened, and the action. We're not going to go chronologically. We're not going to go, Group H to A. We're going to go A to H, actually, since the group stage is already over, and we're going to do a little bit of review for all the groups, and because we're going to be focusing on the big matches from Tuesday and Wednesday, starting from Group A. In Group A, Bayern Munich eased by Salzburg, really 2-0, and game that wasn't really that hard. Bayern Munich, of course, chose to play the second side pretty much. Roker starting, Bunesal starting on the right, Douglas Costa, and Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, who scored a goal, by the way, which is nice to see happening. Alphonso Davies returned to full fitness, starting the game, and he had a really terrific game. I mean, it's different, isn't it? It's different when you play the high line with Alphonso Davies and without Alphonso Davies, because it sucks, man. It sucks when you don't have such a pacey defender, a pacey left back in his position, helping you in thwarting the attacks of the opposition. First goal coming, of course, from Niklas Zuli, 63 minutes, and then, of course, Eric Choupo-Moting adding the second goal. Beautiful finish, by the way. I really undermined the guy a lot at PSG, before that at Stoke City, but still, a good finish and a second goal that eases another win for Bayern, topping the group with 16 points. Same result in the other game between Salzburg and Atletico Madrid, this time for the away side, and for all the worries that Atletico Madrid had heading into this game, I think it was eventually a pretty easy win for them. Of course, 2 goals sealed by Mario Hermoso from a set piece, brilliant cross from Koke, and the second goal, of course, was the and the second goal, of course, was Yannick Carrasco by Angel Correa's assist. 2 goals to nothing. Big win for Atletico Madrid, qualification sealed before a big, of course, Madrid derby on the weekend. We're going to be talking about that extensively in the preview episode, hopefully tomorrow or on Saturday. In Group B, and we're going to focus on that a little bit. On Group B, of course, one of the most open groups in the Champions League, the most open group. We're going to start with Inter Shakhtar Donetsk, 0-0. It was a disappointing draw. If you are an Inter fan, very disappointing draw. Inter couldn't muster a lot before Christian Eriksen made it onto the pitch finally in the last 10 minutes or so. Shakhtar Donetsk didn't bother really trying to do much. They couldn't really care about the game. You feel that they tried to luck their way into the game thinking maybe there's a gift that's going to be coming from Madrid. It didn't happen. By the way, spoiler alert. Conte, I think, is in the hot waters at the moment. He's really in big trouble, and he lashed at reporters for asking him about Christian Eriksen. It is really wonderful. If you saw it on Italian TV, he just, he just went into a tantrum basically against Fabio Capello, who was in the studio as a pundit. Fabio Capello asked him, "Do you have a plan B for the game?" And he said, "No, I don't have." I said, "I have actually, but I won't tell you that plan on TV." It's basically, childish from Conte to do that on live TV. As for Christian Eriksen, the problem continues. The guy is keeping being featured very, 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 very few times for the game. I mean, the guy coming in 85 minutes. If you go on him, like, even if he was bring him on as a substitute. Like, at least get him 15 minutes before. Like, give him 20 minutes, give him 30 minutes. The guy, he gave into a little bit of effectiveness and creativity in the last 5 minutes. He was shooting the target, he was whipping balls forward, he was trying all sorts of solutions to keep his team into it and to get them that goal that qualified them and they would see them through, but they didn't, and they crash out once again from the Champions League group stage for the third time in a row, and the second under Conte, in a group where they should have gone to qualify, really. You'd expect them to qualify, you'd expect them to go through alongside Real Madrid. It wasn't easy for neither of them. One of them left, the other didn't. Speaking of the other, Real Madrid against Borussia Mönchengladbach, the game that, of course, I was most excited to see in the Champions League whole weekend, probably not just on Wednesday. It turned out it was an easy game. It was really, really easy. I probably regret watching it for some reason. Borussia Mönchengladbach are the ones who made it too easy, doesn't they? Real Madrid entered this game pressing high, starting strong, knowing that they need to score early and they need to score very, very early to give themselves the edge and put Borussia Mönchengladbach under a lot of pressure, considering that the other game also is important in terms of the qualification, and that's what they did. They took advantage of the biggest weakness of Borussia Mönchengladbach at the moment, which is their defensive positioning, specifically down that right-hand side. Lucas Vázquez, we've been blaming him and we've been saying that he's a bad right-back, right? And he's a bad right-back. I mean, he can't do the right-back job properly, but he can do the winger job properly. He can go down the wing, he can make the runs, he can make the crosses, and he did. Oscar Wendt had a hard time trying to stop Lucas Vázquez, trying to stop Modric coming down his side. Modric had a terrific game, trying to stop Rodrigo. I mean, the guy could run, Rodrigo, and he's very technical on the ball. His touches are so swift. Compare him to Vinicius Jr. on the other side, and although Vinicius Jr. isn't bad, it's more that his finishing sucks, but he seems more composed than Vinicius. He doesn't have the rash touches and bumps that Vinicius does. But eventually, Real Madrid put themselves ahead. Karim Benzema stepped up to the plate. 9 minutes in, Lucas Vázquez puts a brilliant cross to him, and he puts it past Jan Sommer, brilliant header for 1-0. Real Madrid keep the pressure, but in between, of course, there was that big chance for Alassane playing around 25 minutes to equalise, really, and bring Mönchengladbach back into the game and put some stress on Real Madrid. He missed. Probably that was the only real chance that Borussia Mönchengladbach had in the game. Aside from that, I couldn't really talk a lot about Borussia Mönchengladbach. Real Madrid dominated the game. They passed, they possessed, they shot on target, they did almost everything in football. Borussia Mönchengladbach were ineffective, inalive. They weren't really entering any duels. They weren't trying to press high. They weren't trying to get the ball high up the pitch or try to make any sort of attacks, whether it be counter-attacks, whether it be, slow and methodical passing. It looked like Borussia Mönchengladbach gave up by half-time, really. They accepted the result, it seems, and they were just waiting for the game between Inter and Shakhtar to end in a draw or end in a bad result for them to qualify alongside Real Madrid, and that's what happened. But looking at them at the moment, probably anybody who watched this game and who supports a team that qualified would probably say, but we want Mönchengladbach in that round of 16. We really do want Mönchengladbach in that round of 16. We want to have that ineffective team, but I think this is going to be an anomaly of performance. I don't think Borussia Mönchengladbach are going to stay this ineffective, this methodical, this lifeless for the round of 16. Now, there's still 2 months to go there. There's still time for Marco Rose to come around the weaknesses of his side. Clearly, the left-hand side is in the absence of Ben Sebaini, who's, I think, one of the best left-backs in the world at the moment. No exaggeration, really. He is one of the best left-backs in the world at the moment, but probably we're not ready to have that discussion yet. Borussia Mönchengladbach, again, I'm not going to stay that lifeless for a while. Now that they qualified and they pulled it off somehow, although the word pulling it off could be more appropriate to Madrid considering the tiresome situation they were in. They hope to look to fix their problems heading into the round of 16. They still have Bundesliga games to worry about. They still have, to improve their finish in the Bundesliga. Really, they stand at 7th at the moment. It's not good for them at the table for a team that put in some solid performances in the Champions League and probably should have commanded the group and should have really dominated the group overall. For Real Madrid, Zidane pulled it off, but now it's the bigger game of the three, because it's like the stages of hell. It's like he passed Sevilla, he had a solid defensive performance against Sevilla, a solid dominating performance against Borussia Mönchengladbach, and now we'll see what he's going to do against Atletico Madrid, who found their mojo this season. A couple of hiccups in the Champions League, but aside from that, I think in La Liga they were really, really good. The strongest defense still on only 2 goals in La Liga in 11 matches, which is ridiculous, really, when you think about it. The derby, of course, is going to decide a lot of things for Zidane. Certainly not. He's not going to get the sack if he loses, but he's going to be far from achieving the prime objective for Real Madrid this season, which is, I think, defending La Liga. I don't think they'll try as hard to win the Champions League, although they can, but I don't think they will try as hard, because the prime objective, I think, will be to win La Liga and to retain La Liga title for one more season at the hallowed grounds of Real Madrid. Group B, of course, qualifying Real Madrid and Mönchengladbach. Real Madrid first and Mönchengladbach second with 8 points. Moving on, in Group C, Manchester City made a quick work of the hapless Olympique Marseille. Starting with Foden, Gundogan, Garcia, Nathan Ake, Steffen was a goalkeeper, Ferran Torres was a centre forward. You know that Manchester City were looking ahead at their own derby with Manchester United. Of course, we're going to talk about United a little bit later down the line. Manchester City made a quick work of Marseille, scoring 40, especially in the second half. Really, the first half wasn't so, but the second half they made a quick work of Marseille. Ferran Torres scoring at 48th minute, and then Sergio Aguero coming off the bench, returning finally to the squad, scoring a second goal, and Alvaro Gonzalez added more insult to injury, more misery to Olympique Marseille, scoring an own goal in the 90th minute, 3-0 for Manchester City, which is going to give them the top course of the group undisputedly by 16 points. FC Porto behind them managed a 2-0 away victory to Olympiacos in Greece, but that won't change a lot of the spots in the group. Olympiacos dropping, of course, to the Europa League at 3rd, and Marseille finishing the worst campaign probably they'd ever have in Europe by 3 points. At least they had a victory against Olympiacos, so that will really ease them off out of it. At least they scored once in this competition. In Group D, a group where Liverpool were already decided as qualifiers, they drawn against Midland, but also you look at the lineup they had. Also, they had youngsters all over the pitch. They had even more youngsters coming off the bench for Liverpool. They started with Tsimikas, they started with Callaghan, Clarkson in the midfield. Lightning Clarkson, first ever game for Liverpool for the senior side. It's in the Champions League. I mean, Jurgen Klopp is very confident of his youngsters, and I commend him really for that. I commend him for being very, very confident of his young players. Mo Salah entered history as the biggest goal scorer in the Champions League for Liverpool, surpassing the legendary Steven Gerrard and scoring his 22nd goal from the first minute against Midland. I think there was no need to do much for Liverpool. Of course, they qualified already, but at this point I think we'll count more for Midland, who were at least, it will be in their history that they had 2 points in the Champions League. The other game though, Ajax hosting Atalanta. Atalanta only needed the point, and they had a great defensive performance I would say, against an Ajax side who had more of the possession. Surprisingly, had more of the possession and had more of the shots against Atalanta. 12 shots it was for Ajax, but they couldn't show for it, and Atalanta sneaked away with the win by Luis Muriel, of course, coming off the bench and scoring in the 85th minute by the assist from Remo Florida, a goal that seals the deal. Atalanta once again in the Champions League round of 16 in their second campaign, and I think this season they have even better chances to get to the quarterfinal. Probably everybody is going to be looking above their shoulders from Atalanta this season, although they are in a slightly more dip in form. But we'll wait and see. There's still, of course, 2 months till the eventual round of 16 matches take place in February. In between the games, of course, there was the game from Group H, Paris Saint-Germain. The repeat from that game, of course, after the racist incidents that happened on Tuesday, where the game was supposed to be taking place. The game was stopped in the 40th minute after the players walked off the pitch because of that racist incident, and the game was restarted from the 14th minute onwards on Wednesday. And Paris Saint-Germain, of course, made a quick work, expectedly, of Istanbul Başakşehir, sealing their qualification on top of Group H. We got that out of the way just to, we could focus on Leipzig Man United when we talk about Group H, of course. On Tuesday, it was the Champions League, of course, the first fixtures of matches in the Champions League 6th round. In Group F, Lazio drawn against Club Brugge. It was a scare for them, really. At 2-2 in the Olympico. They avoided a disaster, I would say, because if Club Brugge won, they would have qualified. They avoided disaster. At 2-2, they had the lead early on. They had the lead, of course, in the game early on, thanks to Hakim Correa in 12th minute. But Ruud Vormer scored the equaliser for Club Brugge 3 minutes later at 15th minute. Despite being 10-man, Club Brugge really held themselves well in the second half, and they had the lead actually. They held themselves well despite being 2-1 down after Thierry Mobile returned from the spot and scored the second goal for his side. And then, of course, Club Brugge equalised in the 76th minute, giving Lazio a real late scare to think about. But fortunately for the Roma side, they pulled through and they got their point and the win. In the other group, in the other game of the group, of course, in Zenit St. Petersburg host Borussia Dortmund. The home side, of course, had the advantage from the 16th minute from Sebastian Drusi, who scored the first goal for Zenit St. Petersburg. Dortmund already had their place through, I think, in the qualification. They didn't need to worry a lot about their place in the group, but they certainly needed to put on a good performance in the absence of Erling Haaland from their lineup. Lucas Piszczek relieved them at the 68th minute, scoring the equaliser, and then 78th minute, Axel Witsel scored the second goal by the assist of Jadon Sancho, with, of course, Jadon Sancho, of course, Youssoufa Moukoko, coming off as a sub in the 58th minute, which is lovely to see. He played his first Champions League game with Liverpool. I think he played his first Bundesliga game with Borussia Dortmund, after he played his first Bundesliga game with them 2 weeks ago against Hertha Berlin. In Group E, Rennes couldn't end their campaign in a good result, so they lost to Sevilla 3-1 away from home, and Nasiri again for Sevilla coming with the goods, scoring a brace to seal the deal for the Andalusian side. Rennes, who had good expectations, had big expectations heading into this campaign, couldn't make up for it and couldn't show up for it. Chelsea in the other game, drawn against Krasnodar basically playing with the second team. I think they took their foot off the gas. They played with Billy Gilmore starting, Emerson Palmieri starting, Christensen starting, Kepa Arrizabalaga starting. Wasn't that good for him. Tammy Abraham, Jorginho starting, getting a rare start this season for Jorginho. A 1-1 draw that, of course, keeps Chelsea on top of the group. The goal coming on from Jorginho in 28th minute after Remy Cabella scored in 24th minute, opening the score for Chelsea. In Group G, Dynamo Kiev sealed their Europa League spot by a victory at home against Ferencváros 1-0. And in the other game, the big marquee game, so to speak, of round 6, Barcelona failed to win against Juventus, failed to do anything of note against Juventus, losing 3-0 at home. Cristiano Ronaldo from the penalty spot twice for the first and third goal, and Weston McKennie in between volleyed in a beautiful goal past Ter Stegen. I think Barcelona were really hapless in this game. They looked dishevelled, really. They looked not good. That's the word. I mean, when Juventus come on to the Camp Nou and put on very, very good performance and really frustrate Barcelona. Buffon really rolled back the days in this game. He had some tremendous saves, really, against the Barcelona players. He stopped them from scoring. At 42 years old, you go to the Camp Nou and you get a clean sheet. It's amazing, but also shouldn't be surprised when you talk about this Barcelona side, really, because this Barcelona side seems like they couldn't do anything of note when it comes and when it counts, really. And when you get outcoached and outthought and outsmarted by Cadiz coach and then by Andrea Pirlo, who is on his first managerial year, you really have a big problem, I think, on your hand. Ronald Koeman should look into his team and really give them some smack talk. And finally, the big other game, the other marquee game in terms of the Champions League this weekend, RB Leipzig hosting Manchester United and the Red Bull Arena, and this was a bad performance from Manchester United, just to put it this way. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think, is going to be counting his days in the Champions League. That's what I think. Counting his days in the managerial job, as United's manager after being out of the Champions League and dropping into the Europa League. I thought it probably would be better for Man United to completely leave Europe and go out in 4th place. If you know, you know, by the way, that leave Europe joke, I'm not going to explain it here, but if you know, you know again. RB Leipzig put on a great performance. They started strong. They knew that the defence of Manchester United is very fallible, very vulnerable, and could be really damaged. And Angelino, man, he made sure that would happen, really. He was running down that left-hand side for the first 15 minutes like he was prime Roberto Carlos. He made Wan-Bissaka look absolutely silly on a number of occasions. The first one being, of course, the goal, beautiful volleyed finish into the bottom corner. David De Gea only could watch that go into the net. Then he assists Amadou Haidara for the second goal, beautiful cross. And although United tried to do a lot, they only played on crosses. They were playing diagonally, playing too wide, couldn't find spaces in the midfield because of how, well positioned the Leipzig players are. They were playing middle press, really. They weren't pressing that high. They were, positioning their players basically on the first 40 yards ahead of the goal, so they would really tighten the spaces. Bruno Fernandes played too wide for his liking, really. He should play central, but he played too wide. He was getting close to Alex Telles, who started as a winger in the first half. And then, of course, there's the whole thing with the substitutions. I mean, when you're playing, a game where you need to draw, you either start defensive or you make offensive substitutions when you are 2-0 down. But when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first substitution as, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first substitution in the game is, Donny van de Beek for Alex Telles, you deprived yourself of a winger. I mean, I know Donny van de Beek can play a lot of positions, but winger isn't one of them. And then you have, of course, and then by 61 minutes you started to muster really some good pressing. I think Man United started the second half really better. They had a lot of chances. They moved a little bit quicker, but still not with enough, width, not enough depth really to perturb the defense of Leipzig. Then you had Brandon Williams coming in for Luke Shaw. You practically made two changes. You took out two left backs basically for one left back and a winger. Paul Pogba coming in for Nemanja Matic. And Paul Pogba scored, yes, but he didn't do much else really, in my opinion. And it showed. I don't think that if he started, the result would be different really. He doesn't give you the defensive work rate that you need. I think, and with the Manaraiola statements, he's soon out of the door at Manchester United. That's what I assume. Then, of course, Axel Tuanzebe coming on, Timothy Fosu-Mensah coming on, and by the end of the game, and despite United actually getting 2 goals back and almost crept in on a third by the end of the game, you felt like Solskjaer was so desperate by 78th minute or the 80th minute before even the penalty from Bruno Fernandes, which was a debatable penalty, just like the second goal. Both debatable, very questionable decisioning from the referee. A potential handball on the second goal on Maguire, but again, it won't matter. And they almost crept in with a qualification after Ibrahima Konate almost put it past Gulacsi, who had one of the best reflexes I ever saw, really, saving his team in the dying moments from a near capitulation after leading 3-0. Shout out to Justin Kluivert, by the way, a brilliant third goal, very deft touch in one of the worst defensive scenes you would ever see. I mean, Harry Maguire was defending thin air, basically. He was just looking at the ball getting past him. Brandon Williams was too far on the other post. And Justin Kluivert with a touch that would make his dad absolutely proud of him. Just snatches it, chips it somehow past David De Gea, in that 2-yard, 3-yard space. It was brilliant. Leipzig deserved victory, deserved qualification. Man United deservedly out of the Champions League, deservedly into the Europa League, and they're going to be now, trying to get their campaign back on track. Should they try to win the Europa League? I don't think so. They also had a lot of problems to think about of course on the weekend. There's the derby, the Manchester derby. Could Ole Gunnar Solskjaer pull another big result that would give him another bit of life, extend his shelf life at Manchester United? I don't think so. I think it's going to be harder for him to do that now with the whole. I mean, the pressure is going to be immense on the players, and now with the mood of Paul Pogba leaving potentially, this is going to add up the problems for Man United. This is going to be adding up a lot of issues before the game against Manchester City. For Leipzig, credit to Julian Nagelsmann. He played the smart game. He knew when to pick up his moment, when to hit United when it matters. United's defence were really horrible. Deserved qualification again for Leipzig, and deserved dropping to the Europa League for Manchester United. Didn't have another option really. The result against Başakşehir, I think, was the pivotal point of this group when they lost 2-1 in Turkey, where they should have won really the game. They should have at least gotten the point, which would have been different, which would have given them, which would have been different really, in the procedures of qualification maybe, and if they got another result against PSG at home. So these 16 teams who qualified are finally now known. From Group A, of course, it is Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid. From Group B, Real Madrid and Borussia Mönchengladbach. From Group C, it is Manchester City and Porto. Group D, Liverpool first, Atalanta second. Group E, Chelsea first and Sevilla second. Group F, Borussia Dortmund first, Lazio second. Group G, it is Juventus first and Barcelona second. And Group H, Paris Saint-Germain first and RB Leipzig second. The teams that dropped out of the Europa League: from Group A, it was Red Bull Salzburg. From Group B, Shakhtar Donetsk. From Group C, Olympiacos. From Group D, Ajax. From Group E, it is Krasnodar. Group F, Club Brugge. Group G, Dynamo Kiev. And Group H, Manchester United. Overall, this was a very, very good campaign at the Champions League group stages. I mean, it was incredible. Groups were really open. B and H, I think in particular, were really, really open to the last day. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. I think it's going to be a very balanced round of 16 looking at it. There is the big guns, of course, and there is the underdogs, including Barcelona, unfortunately, in those second place spots. I think it's going to be quite the balanced draw. I don't think we're going to see a lot of, big games. There's only probably the potential for only one or two, really, depending on the draw and depending on the mathematics and of course the calculations of the draw. You don't expect a lot of big games in that round of 16, but certainly the quarterfinals are going to be fire, and the semi-finals, and of course we hope to see a big final, and we hope to see some great stories. I mean, I'm interested to see the two Italian sides in Lazio and Atalanta, how they're going to be performing in the round of 16. I'm interested to see Borussia Mönchengladbach, how they're going to be looking at the round of 16. Real Madrid, after they pulled themselves out of the jaws of defeat in the group, how they're going to be handling the business in round of 16, depending on the draw. I would expect them probably to go through the round of 16. Mathematically speaking, they probably would have an easy draw, but nothing is easy now for Real Madrid, doesn't it? That was all for the Champions League review. Of course, I'll be back with a short, quick video predicting what could happen, predicting the draw. Really, of course, very logically and mathematically predicting the draw, that is, with the options and the rules and all. In the end, I remind you to like, share, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive more updates. We're going to be returning to you tomorrow. Yesterday it was a bit of a technical issue that prevented me from doing the show. We're going to be back, of course, previewing tomorrow the games on the weekend, previewing the Madrid derby, the Manchester derby, of course, and all in between. Until then, follow us on social media, Side PSP on Twitter, Pitch Side Pod on Instagram, listen on Spotify, on Google Podcast or any other podcast platform. Until I see you tomorrow, I was your boy, the HOT from the PSP, and until then, goodbye.